For years, the decline of local news has left a vacuum in statehouse coverage across the country. Into that vacuum, over the years, have stepped a number of different players, nonprofit outlets and collaborative networks and others. One of the most visible among them today is the Center Square, a rapidly expanding news organization focused on state government, public policy, and economic reporting. Supporters say it's filling that critical gap left by the shrinking newsrooms, but some critics say its funding sources and editorial framing leans a little to the right. That's why we brought in today Chris Krug, publisher of the Center Square. Chris, you're a longtime journalist. You've got the chops. You've worked at many of the news publishers that were clients of mine in my consulting days. I'm surprised you haven't been on the show sooner. Welcome to the program.
Hey, Mike, it was worth the wait. And thank you for the opportunity to be here, my friend. It's nice to see you.
Well, I'll tell you what, when we come back, we'll talk about why the Center Square was created, the criticism it sometimes receives, and how Chris believes his organization fits into the broader future of journalism. I'm Mike Blinder, publisher of E&P Magazine. This is E&P Reports. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Hello, my name is Walter Hussman. Our family has been in the news business for over 100 years. Journalism includes two parts, reporting the news and providing opinions. But in recent years, there's been too much opinion appearing in news reporting. This has eroded public trust in news reporting to the lowest level of any U.S. institution. To address this, we started a nonprofit, the Center for Integrity in News Reporting.
The Center for Integrity in News Reporting, CFINR, is on a mission to rebuild public trust in journalism, one newsroom and one classroom at a time. We champion the effort to have news organizations and journalism schools create and prominently display their own clear, concise statements of core journalistic values. Learn more by visiting the Center for Integrity and News Reporting site at cfinr.org.
Okay, Chris, let's start at the beginning. What problem did the Center Square set out to solve when it launched?
I think that's a great question. I mean, you know, the focus that we've taken is really what I view as the donut hole, you know, in American news media today, which would be that sort of callback to the old school government accountability reporting that used to be bread and butter for, I think, all of us, you know, and not to sound like too much of an old timer, but when I got into the business, that was the way that you covered government. If you were a journalist, you know, putting that check on power and authority. We've done that. I mean, you know, starting out small. I mean, we're now in our almost 7 years old, but, you know, we've grown now to a capacity that allows us not only to cover state houses around the country, but we're now hard card credentialed in the White House and able to ask questions directly to the president. So, I mean, 7 years is I guess it's a long time, you know, with regard to you know, any business opportunity. But in the space that we're in, we're competing head to head with the AP. I mean, they've been around since, I think, 1846. So we're still kind of the new kids on the block. And like you had said at the beginning, I think that there's an opportunity to talk about sort of what is going on in the industry and what our role in it is.
All right. Well, unlike many digital outlets, your reporting appears in other newspapers and media platforms. Can you explain this distribution model? What works? Why did you do it? And why does this appeal to the local publisher, sir?
Well, I appreciate that question as well. I mean, you know, as a nonprofit, I mean, we really could have taken this in any direction that we wanted. I felt it was important for us to declare our lane. Why does it work for local market publishers? Well, I mean, you know, a lot of local market publishers and broadcasters, because we serve both, just simply do not have the horsepower to cover their local market and also to cover the state house. I mean, in some cases, you know, I mean, that's a massive gap for them. They either don't have an AP member partnership, maybe never had an AP member partnership, but they have a readership that, you know, whose lives would have a lot going on in their lives to do with what's happening at the state level and certainly at the federal level too. So, for us, as we were, we looked at really where the opportunities in the market existed. This was this was really the right space for us. And as a former editor myself, who, at one point in time oversaw not only one, but a multitude of suburban properties, I don't know that, that the kind of coverage that's being offered now really resonates in local markets outside of metropolitan areas.
All right. So let's get into some of this noise, this controversy, if there is some. This is your chance to address it. Center Square grew out of a network called watchdog.org. It was launched in 2009 by the Franklin Center for Government and Public Integrity. That organization focused on investigative and policy reporting in Statehouse, but it was funded largely through right-wing or philanthropy. That is what we have on record. Media Matters investigation describe you this way, and I'm going to give you a chance to respond. Quote, sure. You're an old right-wing mouthpiece rebranded as a newswire service. Go ahead. Respond to that.
Well, I mean, first things first, I mean, the organization was founded in 2009, was the one that I adopted, or actually, had the opportunity to take over in 2017, but there was no organization there. I mean, and the entire story behind that was, I had applied for a 501c3 not long after the first days of the first Trump administration, and went through the process of, creating a separate 501c3, a new 501c3 that I was going to, build my operation in. And at that time, there was a tremendous amount of uncertainty as to whether or not the Trump administration was going to be approving new 501c3 applications for anything. So I had the opportunity of taking over what was an existing EIN, and to ultimately, build inside of it. But, there was no continuity with the board. There was no continuity with staff. I had already put together a small team that we were going to build with, and we were able to move directly into that. I mean, as far as the accusations of, I don't know, media matters, I mean, I would take that kind of for what it's worth. I tend to look at, what the more credible, auditors in the market would say about us and about where our content lands, and whether or not we are both, trustworthy and accurate. And I would point specifically to Ad Faunus media bias chart, which last year included us in the top 30 news organizations in the country, for accuracy and fairness. So
I'm going to take you up 50,000 feet now. Let's go to the broader debate, and it's out there now, because policy-driven advocacy exists in our world today. And in some ways, that's like a dirty sentence to some people, but it exists for a reason. How do you personally, with your years in editorial positions at some really high prestige brands, how do you personally define the line between good journalism and this policy-driven advocacy debate, sir?
Well, I think it starts with, again, the lane that you declare, right? I mean, so we look at government accountability, right? I mean, that's where we focus. 99 point some percent of the work that we do. And we're keenly interested in the reporting that's not being done there, which would be around the economic issues. I mean, it could be called pocketbook journalism. It could be called taxpayer focused journalism. I mean, it could be called, I think the way that I look at it, the way that we used to do it as an industry as a whole. Beyond that, I mean, I think that, that what's really important for publishers and editors to be doing now, whether you're working in a for-profit space or in a nonprofit space, is to truly declare your lane and be very transparent about what it is that you as a news brand are looking at. One of the ways to best do that, I think, is also to create some level of rules or parameters around the work. And we've done that. Specifically, we don't do any opinion of our own.
Say that
So
again. I want to hear the rules. Give it to me.
yeah,
All
well,
right.
well, that would be, I mean, that would be first and foremost. We don't do any opinion work of our own, right? And we write every story straight. I mean, there's, you know, that straight news is the business that we're in. We want to move stories quickly with accuracy, velocity, and frequency. We publish about, I don't know, anywhere from 65 to 70 stories a day. And one other piece that we've added to it to speak specifically to what's going on with advocacy in journalism is that we don't do solutions journalism, because I find it to be inauthentic or unauthentic. And frankly, you know, I mean, with what we know or what we should know as publishers and editors from, you know, the Pew study that's gone on around this, only 1 out of 4 American readers can tell the difference between a straight news story and a story that's an opinion story. And with the way that people consume news now, I mean, Mike, how long has it been since you were anywhere, you know, an airport, you know, a train station, I mean, a barber shop, you name it, where you saw somebody sitting there with a newspaper open in front of them, where, you know, there might be a tagline at the top or the tagline at the bottom of a story, or that even the story is written or published in like ragged write, which, you know, we used to kind of in the heyday of the newspaper industry. I mean, we had a page that was emblazoned with the word opinion or commentary.
It was always labeled big as
right. I mean, it was unmistakable. Right, but we went to but we used to go to that degree for the benefit of our readers to be very clear on what this is or what it isn't. And so that has really been blurred, I think, by the reality of how Americans consume the news.
So you're running the shop and you're making it clear we don't do opinion, we do straight up fact-checked journalism. That's right. Let's get into the competitive nature of where you put this company. Multiple approaches emerge now to fill statehouse coverage gap.
Yes.
Nonprofit networks like the state's newsroom, university-backed reporting labs, philanthropic outlets, and organizations like yours. Go ahead, give me the elevator pitch. What makes Center Square different from these other models that are there today?
Well, I mean, I think we are the only government accountability newswire. I mean, period. You know, and our model was built. You know, you'd asked this question earlier, and I don't know that I really talked about it, but our model was built on distribution first, because I think that, you know, to be, you know, a valuable mission-focused organization that has a 501c3 designation, that that you have a responsibility to someone other than yourself, right? And so. And also, I mean, when you're a 501c3, that the you know, we're not a profit motivated, you know, organization. I mean, you know, I'm grateful when we were able to get all the way back to zero and maybe have a little left over for the coming year. I don't know that everybody looks at it that way, but, you know, in 7 years' time, I mean, you know, we've built relationships with 1,350 plus, you know, partners across all 50 states. Every single day, precision data, you know, we reach 141 million Americans. And again, I think most news organizations, either for-profit or nonprofit, they're working to build audiences on their own platform and monetize that, which I don't, you know, I mean, I think that that's perfectly fine. We've just taken a different route. We built a distribution network among willing partners who need coverage that they can't produce on their own. And like I said, I mean, we've launched less than 7 years ago, and roughly 53% of all Americans on any given day have access to a Center Square story, and are able to access it, you know, either, you know, at no cost to them or inside of the packaging of a local media product.
All right, so let's look ahead. Is this the model for sustainable statehouse reporting? Have you found it? Distribution first, straight up reporting. Will you be in existence 5 years from now? What does that look like?
I certainly hope so. And I think 5 years from now, you know, my goal for the organization is that we're bigger, badder, and faster than we are right now. You know, it's like one thing I think it's important to call out is that we're not purely a philanthropic organization. I mean, you know, I'm also, you know, I mean, I'm from this business. I'm from this industry. And I believe that everybody who's in the nonprofit space, if they can, should be figuring out ways to pay their own way to whatever degree that they can. So we own the Illinois Radio Network, which is, you know, I think it's 101 stations that cover 102 counties, all the counties in the state of Illinois. We also own an entity, a digital streaming subscription service called blueroomstream.com, where we are, affectionately known in the state of Illinois as the C-SPAN of Illinois. No commentary, just straight shots with audio delivered in, broadcast quality video of what's going on in the state house, or what the governor might have to say, or someone else who's politically relevant, or is relevant within government. And the offset of that, allows us to have a balanced approach, and for us to drive revenue from different directions. And we're capable of doing it. So, and that's, I think, so we are not wholly philanthropic, a fully dependent philanthropy with regard to just needing support, via the 501c3 route. We're doing everything we possibly can to, as I said, pay our own way.
Well, if I may insert a quote from Stuart Bainham, who founded the Baltimore Banner, who was on this program at the very beginning. I think he said, we have a nonprofit heart, but a for-profit brain.
Sure.
But we've heard it all over. No margin, no mission. And I agree with you. Just if I can politicize on my own show, editorialize, I'd say on my own show, nonprofit is just a way of doing the books sometimes. You've got to look at this like a business, and that's where the survival is. Right?
We're absolutely business-like. And you and I have known each other for a long time. And I grew up in the newsroom. I grew up in this business as a journalist. And actually, I started my career as a sports writer and didn't even move into news until 2002. Which I guess is still a long time ago now, as we, neither you or I are getting any younger, nor is anyone else, right? But along the way, getting my MBA, I think, was incredibly valuable to me, if not to validate the things that I knew it, to learn things that I didn't know. And I really built a lot of the business modeling that I was able to learn through that process. And then, of course, I got to meet, Clayton Christensen along the way, in the disruptive innovation theory, that jobs to be done thinking. I don't know that there are necessarily a lot of people, in the newsroom who've stayed in the newsroom, who understand, like what you have to do to be successful in business. And I also would say, and this is not a crack on publishers who don't have any newsroom experience, a lot of publishers who came up through the advertising side, I don't know that they understand what it takes to produce a high quality editorial product. And so by good fortune, as this work, as this has kind of come together in this time, which is a very challenging time for all media, I have been lucky enough to have experiences on both sides of the house, and to merge those experiences and things that I've learned and things that I've practiced. It's fail, fail, fail until you get it right in business, And I think that set us up in a nice position to do something meaningful, to do something valuable, to do something authentic, and something that actually benefits the industry that I love. So, it's a really nice question. I appreciate the opportunity to talk through that.
Chris Krug, publisher of the Center Square. Chris, I have a feeling we'll be chatting again. I really appreciate your time, and thanks for sharing your story.
Mike, you're awesome. And congratulations. As somebody who stepped in and saved something, right? I think that you and I have a heck of a lot more in common than we've even had a chance to talk about. So congratulations on what you're building with the E&P. You saved it and you've made it better. So,
wow, #blushing. Thank you so much for the compliment, sir.
You bet.